Welcome back to the Junius Maltby channel. Thanks to each and every viewer who's here, who's participating. As always, I appreciate it. Today's video conversation obviously is going to be regarding gold, 2013 and the future, 2014, what's coming, where we've been, and let's just take a look at the broad picture here on our decisions as gold investors, stackers, gold buyers. I saw a nice term the other day that replaced the derogatory term, I perceive it as derogatory anyway, the term gold bug, as gold hawks. I'm a gold hawk. I think gold, there's war hawks, people that are pro-war. I'm a gold hawk, I'm pro-gold. I think gold's going further, and it's got a lot going for it. I'm in its corner, I'm fighting for it. I'm rooting for it. Gold is liberty, it's freedom, it's money. It is the ultimate vehicle to move one's wealth and to preserve it over the course of time. And there's a lot of examples of that. You don't see people walking all over England and France and other formerly Roman occupied territories with metal detectors looking for parchment paper of currencies that existed at the time. They're looking for Roman coins, gold, silver, etc. When people find hoards of gold that are thousands of years old, it ends up all over the news. It ends up on CNN, and the value of that load of wealth is touted and broadcast all across the screens and in the media and in print paper, and everyone gets to hear about it. Well, it hasn't changed. For 65 to 70 centuries, gold has been wealth. It will continue to be wealth. We're not going to beat that horse to death right now. Let's look at 2013. Gold took a $400 beating. All right, that happens. Happens to a lot of things, right? NASDAQ gets its butt kicked from time to time. Every investment does. Excuse me, I'm going to cough because I do have the flu, as you know. All right. Currently gold's sitting around $400 for one healthy little ounce, or $1,200 for one healthy ounce. That's not bad. $1,200 for an ounce, about $300 and change for a quarter. I remember back in, was it 2009, getting a quarter ounce for around $300 and something dollars, and thinking that was the last time I was ever going to see gold that cheap. Well, here we are. We're back down there, and it's manageable again. I can stomach going out and getting it if I have to. I remember back in the early 2000s buying a quarter ounce for $93, quarter ounce Eagle. Never thought I'd see. Shoot, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, I don't see that happening, because if you look at, let's just say, the year 2000 and now, there's a whole lot more dollars circulating and vying for purchasing gold and other products and commodities. So with that much currency out there, I don't see gold dropping back to those levels. I think this is going to be a good year for us. I do. I think this $400 beating was oversold. I think there's a lot of manipulation taking place in the market. I think there's a lot of people getting caught up in the frenzy of Bitcoin, and they might be buying Bitcoin and maybe getting out of gold or other anarcho-capitalist investment vehicles, if you want to call it that. But Peter Schiff brought up a good point about Bitcoin the other day. If any of you have seen the video, Peter Schiff talking about Bitcoin, he gets interviewed by London Real, which is a YouTube channel. And Peter Schiff, he just mentioned some things, some points about Bitcoin that I thought were interesting. It's worth a watch. There's a lot of articles out there and a lot of experts that are putting out some good information, painting a picture of where gold's going into the year 2014 and beyond. And I think we all need to consider all the facts and all the dynamics. It's a complicated economic world, right? You can't even sit here and make a little YouTube video and try to talk about every single facet and every angle of this story. this giant play in which we're all part of. I mean, you've got all these different countries and currencies and economic factors and policies playing into everything, which affects the value of gold and the dollar. And as we see lately, the dollar's come down a little bit. What is it today? 80 basis points. The dollar's dropped a little bit. It looks like gold's really firmed itself up at this 1200 level, which is good. It looks like it's poised for a bounce. I think it's going to start climbing here. You look at all the information coming out about China's new debt levels. You look at, heck, just the housing market and the economy in the U.S. Let's just talk about that for 1 second here. You've got the stock market had 50 record-breaking days this year. So now we've got, when I say 50 record-breaking days, that means days it closed at record levels. So you've got unprecedented levels on the Dow and the NASDAQ. They say now that a lot of the safety stops that were put in place to protect the housing market and creditors have been removed. So now you have tons of mortgages going out again, most likely unhealthy, which could potentially lead to another housing crisis. They've never really quite solved the derivative crisis. I think a lot of that stuff was swept under the rug. They've kind of piecemealed and patchworked together the economy. And they're creating this illusion that everything's better. And because of that, because the illusion things are better, gold's taken quite a beating. And, everyone's jumping into stocks. But I don't know if it was Jim Rogers. Somebody said, it might have been Mark Faber, when you see everyone running the one way, and everyone's running right now, running towards the stock market, and they're kind of running away from gold, you should probably look back and maybe run towards the gold and away from the stocks. One YouTube commenter on the channel just today or yesterday left a comment saying how he's been selling off. He's one of those people who's dual invested. He's been selling off his stocks and moving back into gold at this time. He's taking advantage of these high stock prices, selling them, and getting back into gold at these levels. Because it's going to flip. We're going to see a rush for the door, a rush for the exits here pretty soon in the stock market. 2014 might be it. Who knows? I'll reiterate, as I've said before, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm not an expert on these things. This is merely my opinion, merely my perceptions of what I'm seeing around me and what I'm taking in the media and in reading articles and trying to digest and wade through all the muck that's out there. So, you look at, from way back, a lot of us have seen Chris Martinson's Crash Course. It's probably a good time to review it. But he talked about the 20 teens in that. And I remember watching the Crash Course back before we were in the 20 teens, before it was 2013, back in 08 or 09, somewhere in there. And there's a lot of convergences that are taking place about this time in this decade, between 2014, 2018, when you look at the economies and the debt levels and things like that. So a lot of those things that are going to take place are going to favor gold going up. Spoke with an Indian friend of mine just recently, and we were having dinner. We were talking about the history of India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, how India used to be all that, and the whole separation, how it split up. But we ended up talking more about current events, and I brought up the fact that India has this new importation tax to prohibit basically an inflow of gold into the country, and how basically people are now smuggling to get around these taxes and things, are smuggling gold into the country like narcotics dealers. Imagine that. Having to either swallow gold. I mean, imagine swallowing a big stack of quarter ounces just to get them into the country. And he was telling me the reason for that is basically, I think in India, gold sells for more than you can buy it for on the market outside of India. So, for example, maybe you can buy an ounce for $1,200 and something here in the U.S., but in India you can go there and sell it for maybe $500 more than you paid for it here. So there's a profit there, and apparently the government's trying to get in on that. Oh, there goes a phone. We won't answer it. Don't worry about it. So the government tries to, take its cut, take some of the profits off the table by taxing it. So that's interesting, very interesting. I don't know how that's going to shape up in India because it's a huge gold market. It hasn't culled the appetite there. They're still digesting and devouring gold all the time. I mean, it's a major part of their culture. It's a part of every wedding. They don't trust currency. Again, just to give you an example, this Indian friend of mine lives in America, brilliant guy, IT specialist. He knows more about computers than anybody you'll ever meet. Guy's brilliant. So the guy gobbles up gold. I mean, this guy buys he makes good money. He must make good money because I've never seen his gold. I think Indians are pretty secretive about that. But he talks about kilo bars all the time. And a kilo bar is like 33 ounces of gold, right? Imagine seeing a kilo bar. I've never even held one. Excuse me. But he talks about how you can bring a kilo into India, a kilo of gold. That's your limit. And he was talking about some of the social norms with India with gold, and it's very important to them. And it's becoming that way. It is that way in a lot of Asian countries. Americans have pretty much, we've talked about this before. We have kind of the most different attitude, I think, regarding gold. And who knows what it stems from, because it used to be a pretty important part of American mindset. There was the gold rushes. There was, because the whole part of our early history was in our coinage. It was everywhere. But now it's, your average American's never even seen or held a gold coin. They wouldn't know one if you plopped it down in front of them. But here's to 2014, guys. It's going to be a good year. Keep your chins up. Those of you who stayed in the game and didn't panic and sell out, I think it'll pay off for you. Those of you who panicked and sold and dumped all your gold because it was going down in 2013, well, you might regret it because it might go up from here. You look at other commodities like oil, they dipped and then broke records from that point forward. Gold's done it before. It dips a little bit and then boom, breaks a record. So let's hold out, be strong, and keep sharing the news. Keep your ear on the tracks, listening for the train coming. Let me know what you hear, what's going on, and stay in touch. Let's all share the knowledge, share the wealth. And thanks for being part of the Junius Maltby channel. Hope you got something out of the video today. If anything, you got to look at some beautiful gold, as always. Yeah. Great little coins, aren't they? Anyways, keep stacking, guys. Take care and have a happy new year.